You remain barefoot on stone that has known centuries of pressure. Not dramatic pressure, not violence, just the quiet, constant weight of a world built on top of it. The cold does not rush you. It doesn't announce itself. It rises slowly, patiently, as if it has all the time in the world, because it does. Above you, far beyond the reach of this moment, a medieval castle continues its ordinary existence. Not legends, not myths, routine. A servant crosses a corridor carrying something warm. A guard shifts his weight, metal scraping softly against stone. A door closes somewhere. Perhaps someone laughs. Perhaps someone sighs. You don't witness any of it directly. The earth has already placed distance between you and the surface. In front of you, a narrow descent waits. Not inviting, not threatening, just present. Shadow fills it unevenly, swallowing the lower steps first, leaving the upper stones half-lit, as if undecided about whether you should continue. The air smells old, damp earth, limestone, a faint memory of smoke. Not active fire, but the residue of it, the kind of smell that only appears where flames once mattered deeply. You hesitate, not because you are frightened, at least not consciously, but because your body recognizes something older than logic. This place was not designed for comfort. It was designed to remove people from notice, to make them disappear without drama. When you finally step down, the light behind you does not follow. It thins quickly. What was once an opening becomes a stripe, then a suggestion, then a pale memory crawling across stone before vanishing altogether. Sound behaves differently here. Every footstep feels too loud. Every breath feels like an interruption. You know intellectually that medieval underground chambers were often buried beneath several meters of packed earth and rock. That insulation absorbed sound, creating spaces that were quieter than the halls above. But knowledge does not stop the sensation. Your breathing still feels exposed, as if the walls are aware of it, as if silence here is not empty, but occupied. This is where the story begins, not in great halls, not on battlements, but beneath everything meant to be seen. You were never meant to be comfortable here. That discomfort is intentional. So before you settle into it, pause. If you're listening to this late at night, take a moment to notice where you are. Notice the hour. There's something fitting about experiencing darkness together, separated by distance, but connected by attention. Now, move forward. Your hand drifts along the wall as you descend, fingers brushing stone shaped slowly by people who never imagined this work would be remembered. These stones were not cut for beauty. They were cut for function.
Medieval builders did not dig underground because they were fascinated by secrecy. They dug because the surface was dangerous. Fire raced through wooden roofs without warning. Siege engines reduced walls to rubble. And people, unpredictable, ambitious, frightened people, posed risks no wall could fully contain. By the high Middle Ages, historians broadly agree that most major castles included subterranean spaces beyond simple storage cellars. That fact is well established. What those spaces were truly for is where certainty begins to dissolve. The steps end. You find yourself in a low chamber where the ceiling presses just enough to change your posture. You straighten instinctively, not because you choose to, but because the space demands it. The air is cooler here, heavier, steadier. Underground temperatures remained relatively constant throughout the year, something medieval builders understood intuitively long before instruments existed to measure it. Summer heat softened, winter cold dulled. Comfort, however, was never the goal. This chamber does not announce itself. No carvings, no symbols, no attempt at meaning. Just stone, earth, silence. Above ground, castles were designed to impress. Below ground, they were designed to be ignored. You imagine the first moments of this space being hollowed out. No ceremony, no witnesses beyond those required. A small group of workers chosen carefully, digging by lamplight, iron tools scraping patiently against stone, earth removed in small loads, never enough to draw attention. Some records suggest that excavated soil was scattered into gardens or dumped into rivers at night, not because the amount was enormous, but because questions were dangerous. That detail matters. It hints at secrecy, not as an exception, but as a habit. You stop and listen. Nothing answers. Above you, life continues. Below you, time thickens. This is what underground chambers offered that towers never could. Removal from noise, from sight, from expectation. Scholars debate whether these earliest chambers were planned from the beginning or carved later in response to threat. The stone offers no clarification. You step forward and notice the floor slopes almost imperceptibly. That was deliberate. Medieval masons understood water long before they understood disease. Drainage mattered. Dampness ruined stored goods. Rust destroyed weapons. Stagnant air became lethal. Even hidden spaces had to function. Your foot brushes a shallow groove in the stone, perhaps where a beam once rested, perhaps part of a mechanism that no longer exists. Many underground rooms relied on simple systems, sliding slabs, balanced trapdoors, concealed panels. Nothing elaborate, nothing decorative, just enough to fool someone who wasn't looking. And most people weren't. Castles were crowded places. Servants, soldiers, craftsmen, families. Dozens, sometimes hundreds of people moving through shared spaces daily. Secrecy worked not because everyone knew, but because no one questioned what wasn't visible. If a door did not announce itself, it might as well not exist. You inhale slowly. The air smells older now, less smoke, more earth. Somewhere above, a fire burns. Its warmth will never reach you. This is the truth of underground refuge. It protects you from danger, but it also separates you from comfort. There is a calm here, not peace, stillness. In times of siege, when shouting, metal, and fear filled the courtyards above, spaces like this offered a pause, not safety, delay. Some fringe theories suggest that certain hidden chambers were never intended for frequent use, that they existed primarily as reassurance, the knowledge that one could vanish if necessary. Standing here, with stone pressing quietly around you, that idea does not seem unreasonable. You shift your weight. A faint echo responds. The chamber is small, intimate. You are aware of your body, your sleeve brushing stone, the cool air against your skin. Medieval architects rarely bothered to make these spaces comfortable because they were not meant for long stays. Hours, maybe days. Still, people stayed longer than planned. There is tension here between planning and improvisation, between foresight and fear.
You sense it in the uneven floor, the mismatched stones, the practicality of it all. This was not a crypt, not a tomb. It was infrastructure for uncertainty. Above ground, castles projected power, permanence, order. Below ground, they admitted vulnerability. That walls fail, that fires spread, that enemies enter, and that sometimes survival depends on being forgotten. You stand still for a moment longer, breathing slowly. The stone has absorbed centuries of waiting. It does not release that weight easily. But if you listen closely, truly listen, you can almost feel the intention behind it. Not drama, not heroism,
just survival. The passage narrows as you move forward, not suddenly, not dramatically, just enough to make you slow without realizing why. This is an instinct the builders relied on. Wide spaces invite confidence. Narrow ones demand attention. The tunnel curves gently, refusing to give you a clear line of sight. Straight paths suggest speed and certainty. Curves suggest caution. Your hand stays against the wall now, not for balance, but for orientation. The stone here feels different, less carefully dressed, rougher, closer to the Earth's original shape. These tunnels were not carved to be admired, they were carved to connect. Above ground, movement followed ceremony, corridors, staircases, thresholds. Below ground, movement followed necessity. Archaeological surveys show that many underground tunnels beneath castles were aligned loosely with service routes above. Kitchens, pantries, storage yards, secondary stairwells. Not because those rooms were important, but because they were overlooked. Power attracts attention. Utility disappears into routine. You notice the ceiling dip slightly, not low enough to crawl, but low enough to remind you that standing tall was never the priority here. This tunnel was not built for armored soldiers. It was built for bodies that needed to move quietly, slowly. The air shifts as you walk, not colder, drier. That change matters. It tells you that this tunnel leads somewhere meant to hold things, not people. The floor becomes more even now, intentional. Wheels once rolled here, crates scraped, weight mattered. You reach a junction, a subtle widening of space rather than a dramatic intersection. One tunnel continues forward, another bends away, marked only by a faint change in stone texture. No signs, no symbols. Knowledge was not written here, it was remembered. You take the bend. The tunnel opens into a chamber that feels immediately different, not oppressive, not empty, still. The ceiling lifts just enough to let you breathe without thinking about it. The walls are thicker, the corners sharper. This is not a place designed for movement. It is a place designed for keeping. You stand in a storage chamber, not the kind filled with grain sacks or barrels meant for daily use. Those lived closer to the surface, where hands came and went constantly. This room was meant for things that needed to survive disruption. The first thing you notice is how dry it is. That is not accidental. The floor slopes gently toward a narrow channel cut along the edge of the wall. Water is guided away quietly, efficiently. No standing moisture, no rot. The stone here has been treated. You can feel it beneath your fingers. Smoother, almost chalky. Lime wash, perhaps, applied to reflect limited light, repel dampness, discourage insects. Simple chemistry, powerful results. Along the walls, shallow alcoves repeat at measured intervals, too uniform to be improvised, too discreet to draw attention. These held containers, chests, wrapped bundles, items placed carefully, not stacked. You imagine parchment sealed in wax, charters, land claims, marriage contracts, letters that could ruin alliances or secure them. In the medieval world, information was fragile. Paper burned easily. Ink bled at the first sign of water. Stone, by contrast, waited patiently. Some excavation sites reveal iron hooks set into chamber walls like this one. Not decorative, practical. They held lanterns briefly, or ropes, or bags suspended to avoid dampness. Nothing here suggests panic. That matters. Objects found in chambers like this often show no signs of hurried placement. Containers aligned, seals intact.